It is my pleasure to introduce Phoebe, who is a... Yeah, go ahead. There we go. Who is a microbiologist who will share from her slightly disturbing but strangely alluring vast experience in bacterial voyeurism. Give it up for Phoebe.
It's great to see all of you. So I bet that you think you've seen some pretty good sex. But you haven't seen what I've seen. And that's because in my lab, we study a form of bacterial sex known as the horizontal tango. Okay, actually it's horizontal gene transfer, but still. So, excuse me. Okay, so we study this form of sex known as horizontal gene transfer, which is really important because it spreads antibiotic resistance genes. And antibiotic resistance is really important for practical reasons. So for example, has anyone here in this room ever had a urinary tract infection? Yeah, I am sensing a gender imbalance. It's bad enough we have to change the empty toilet paper roll, but we get the UTIs too. And UTIs are often resistant to antibiotics, and that makes them harder to treat. So bacteria do a lot of horizontal gene transfer because what they use as their lube is extracellular DNA. So extracellular DNA is excellent lube. It is water soluble and strawberry flavored. Now, the bacteria I watch are also pansexual. Honestly, they don't even care about species. I study Acinetobacter, and they will gladly get it on with E. coli, Pseudomonas, whatever's on the sex couch. What? They're not afraid of catching germs. Now, human beings haven't had sex this interesting to watch since Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis frightened those French cave bears 125,000 years ago. Now, from watching all this bacterial gene transfer sex, I also have learned that pairwise sex and monogamy in general are just highly unnatural. I mean, as unnatural as Matt Gaetz's sexual proclivities. So bacteria don't just pair up, they do it in clumps and crowds, and they really don't give a damn about privacy either. So what actually triggers them to get the party going is exposure to any kind of stress. So what kinds of things stress bacteria out? So for example, you expose them to bleach, orgy. Too much sunlight, orgy. The end of democracy itself, orgy! You get an orgy, and you get an orgy, and you get an orgy. And all of these orgies are happening under your nose. No, literally under your nose and in your mouth and all your other moist orifices. So I want you to think back to your own first orgy. I'll give you a second. You got it? Yeah. So what did you bring to the orgy?
Potato salad.
Potato salad? Girl Scout cookies? Yeah. So what do bacteria bring to the orgies? Well, the bacteria I study bring these pointy nanomachines called a sex pilus, which they use to thrust out into all the extracellular DNA lube. And the sex pilus not only probes, it also sucks. It slices, it dices, and it sucks up that DNA full of antibiotic resistance genes right into their excited, squirming little cell bodies. Now, the bacteria I watch are also very into bondage and domination. And that's because the sex pilus comes with molecular grappling hooks, which they use to grab other bacteria and pull them close and pin them down. And then they whip out yet another phallic appendage, I know, and penetrate that bacterium, releasing its DNA. No pre-existing moist orifice is required. Now, someone out there listening is thinking, you mean I can make my own hole? No, Elon, you cannot. Now in the US, We feed lots of low-level antibiotics to livestock, and that's because it doesn't make the livestock healthier, it doesn't make them happier, but it does make them grow a little bit faster. So that makes them more profitable. Now, when we do that, we end up exposing billions and billions of bacteria to antibiotics that aren't strong enough to kill them, but that do stress them out a lot. And we know what happens next. This is a textbook case of artificial selection, where we expose the bacteria to antibiotics, and also we select for resistance to those antibiotics, therefore, and also we're selecting for being really good at horizontal gene transfer sex. This is a very bad idea. And so what happens is the animals and all their products, such as their meat and their milk and their eggs, all become resistant to antibiotics. Now, this is a really dumb use of antibiotics, and honestly, it's illegal in all civilized countries. And that's because it is a short trip from the farm to the operating table. Imagine, if you will, a nefarious bacterium on a hospital bed, and is that disinfectant? Penicillin? Orgy! And pretty soon they're whipping off those grappling hooks and that thrusting, sucking dildo pillis, having sex with that zombie body of the pig bacterium that was resistant to 10 antibiotics. And that is bad news for Grandma's hip replacement. Yeah, Grandma has had her last orgy. Oh, poor Grandma, that's right. Now, we should probably stop using antibiotics this way. And actually, we need to invest more in research to discover new antibiotics. And we probably should invest just as much as we do in the next Viagra, because God knows there's always plenty of erections in this country, but Lord help you when you need an antibiotic. Now, after hearing this talk, perhaps you too would like to become a scientist and discover new antibiotics. Well, have I got a deal for you, because I am a professor right here in town at Colorado College. Proud home of the city's only all-white Black Lives Matter club. Or you may be familiar with the pride stickers we install on intercontinental ballistic missiles. So for a mere $91,154 this year, you too could enroll at Colorado College and learn to become a scientist with me. That's right. And I am worth every penny, because I am a red state's worst nightmare of a blue professor. I literally takes your federal tax dollars and use them to watch kinky pansexual orgies at work with my students. I love that you love science. Thank you so much. Have a great time.
Give it up for Phoebe, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, give me a minute. I'm gonna go wash my hands like 50,000 times right now, and then I'm gonna go wash them again. And then I'll wash them again.